and ends with praise. Why admonition? Rav said, in the beginning our fathers were idol worshippers, etc. And we also say in the Passover story, Haggadah, in the beginning our fathers were idol worshippers, and now the Creator has brought us closer to His work. To understand the matter, what we can learn from what they were before, we should interpret this in ethics. A person needs to know when he engages in man's exodus from the exile in Egypt. And we see that all the mitzvot are dependent on this matter, because in everything we say, in memory of the exodus from Egypt, which means that it is impossible to keep a commandment to the fullest before a person comes out of the exile in Egypt, although, generally, we have already come out of Egypt, but in person, each person must come out of this exile. It is impossible to come out of the exile in Egypt before entering the exile. Only then can it be said that we are coming out of the exile. The author of the Haggadah tells us about this, that we need to know that in the beginning our fathers were idol worshippers, meaning that they were in exile under the rule of idol worshippers.
Well, of course, we're not talking about history and geography. It's not so important to us what happened a few thousand years ago there. What's important is what's happening with us, because the whole Torah is talking about our times as well. And mainly it turns to a person. And what is it saying? That to start with, a person was created with its egoistic will to receive, and by that he only feels our narrow world, and also for a very short period of time. A very short period of time he feels his existence only. How can we rise to a higher degree and feel the eternal whole world? That's what this Torah is meant for. It's the Torah of life, a doctrine of life. Therefore, we don't look at Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, but rather on our ego and the people of Israel or the nation of Israel, our desires that do want to be corrected, can be corrected, are capable of being corrected, to correct the desire in order to bestow and reach the higher degree. And that's how in this life, it's as it's written, you shall see your life in your lifetime, your world in your lifetime, and raise this life to the degree of the next world. That's all what we need to do, this ascent here and now in our times. We do it through connection, because the whole world begins from there being one kli called the soul of Adam HaRishon, which shattered on purpose into small pieces, as each of the people of the world has a part of that kli from that unique and one soul that was created. And as we connect all these parts once again, then we will reach that soul on the same power, but 620 times more than before. And this is what we are trying to do. This ascent, this can be done by the upper light that shines upon us at a time in which we learn the wisdom of Kabbalah and are in connection, and we try to turn to that upper light and draw it, and then it connects us to the same shattered parts, to that one soul. It gathers us, and as we gather, then slowly we once again assemble the soul. This soul connects in 125 degrees, and that's how we come to that one soul, once again to that one soul. The sorting, collecting of all those parts together is called the end of correction, Gemar Tikkun, and as Kabbalists say, we are already in times in which we have come to a state in which this action needs to occur, and that's what we're expecting. This is what Baal HaSulam writes, Rav Kook, and all the sages, the great rabbis, the great Kabbalists that say that actually that's what we need to do, and that it's specifically this generation of ours, which is the generation of the Messiah, the generation of the end of correction. Let's continue.
Continuing from the rule of idol worshippers, and only then the Creator brought our fathers closer.
Meaning we're all born in our ego, and idol worship means that we are observing only our egoistic desires.
Meaning that they were in exile under the rule of idol worshippers, and only then the Creator brought our fathers closer. But if they did not feel that they were placed under the rule of idol worshippers, it could not be said that the Creator had brought them closer.
We need to constantly feel that the advantage of the light is from the darkness, meaning we have to first enter the darkness and see opposite things from the correction, and then we come to correction.
Only when a person is remote from the Creator can it be said that the Creator is bringing him closer, because the absence should always come before the presence. For the absence is the kli, vessel, and the presence is the light that fills the absence and the darkness. Therefore, we have to know that we have to prepare ourselves thoroughly, meaning that a person should check himself meticulously and carefully to see his real condition, what his faith in the Creator is like. If he has complete faith, meaning is it truthful or superficial, meaning only going barot, which means that he does it only out of habit and not because of his own desire.
Faith is called the force of bestowal. The force of bestowal that we have upon the will to receive, the ability to acquire the quality of bestowal that we want to nevertheless bestow, even though we're egoists. To bestow meaning to do something that's truly to the benefit of the other. So the force of bestowal is something we acquire by the upper light, which shines upon us and invites in us such abilities. To do, bestow. The moment we know to bestow, to that extent we are similar to the Creator, and then to that measure we can see Him, feel Him, and be close to Him.
And also, whether his qualities are in order. That is he in the form of all your actions will be for the Creator, or God forbid, to the contrary, meaning that everything he does is only with the intention to please himself. Our sages said about the verse, "And the grace of the nations is sin. All the good that they do for themselves, and they cannot do anything for the Creator." And if a person is placed under this rule, like the nations of the world, then he is in exile. And then
the nations of the world is called all those people, doesn't matter what kind or type or nationality or anything, but rather all those who think only about themselves are called the nations of the world. Those people that have already some spark, some belonging to bestowal, and then they feel that the wisdom of Kabbalah kind of draws them and can bring them some kind of advancement, they're called Yashar Kel, Israel, direct to the Creator. Meaning the division is like it was in Babylon 3,500 years ago, where Abraham, the patriarch, put out a clarion and people came close to him, and he called them Israel, according to their ability, their desire to approach and get closer to the Creator.
And then he is regarded as an idol worshipper, and then there's room for prayer that the Creator will help him out of this exile. And then it can be said, now, meaning once he is in exile and regarded as an idol worshipper, it can be said, now the Creator has brought us closer to his work.
Meaning, who can be an idol worshipper? Only one who longs to come out of exile, out of his ego, to not be under the control of the ego, wanting to rise from it. And for the time being is still, nevertheless, in those egoistic intentions. That's considered one who's in idol worship. Meaning only Israel, those who long to Yashar Kel, direct to the Creator, for the time being, who have not yet corrected themselves, are considered the idol worshippers. As it's written, our forefathers were idol worshippers.
Meaning to work in the work of the Creator and not to work for the governance of idol worshipping. This is called the Exodus from Egypt, when all the works are for the Creator. For this reason, we relate the commandments to the memory of the Exodus from Egypt. Only then, once we have come out of the exile in Egypt, can we keep the commandments because of the Creator's commandment.
Mitzvot are called any action I do for the sake of the other in order to get closer to the Creator, to be similar to the Creator, who is all good. That action is called a mitzvah. Because we have 613 desires, and after the sin of the tree of knowledge, we are all in these 613 corrupted desires in order to receive all of them. If I correct some desire so it will be in order to bestow, it's considered that I've done a mitzvah. And therefore it's upon us to correct these 613 desires in order to bestow. That's called to observe 613 mitzvot. How do we do this? By the reforming light, which is all together called Torah.
This is the meaning of what the Tana says, beginning with admonition and ending with praise. This means that when a person wants to begin with the work of the Creator, he must begin with admonition, meaning with how we are placed under the governance of idol worshippers.
Also, that's not simple. We need to discover how much we are under the control of our ego, which is called the recognition of evil. It's not a simple way to discover how egoistic we are. As a person doesn't really think of himself so badly.
Then we can come to the degree of, now the Creator has brought us closer to His work, and this is ending with praise.
That's what's written in the Haggadah.
The order of the work is in two ways, meaning in faith in the Creator, as well as in qualities, meaning that all of His work will be for the Creator. By that, we should interpret what our sages said. Our sages said, when Rabbi Elazar ben Parta and Rabbi Hanina ben Tardion were captured, Rabbi Elazar ben Parta said to Rabbi Hanina ben Tardion, happy are you for being caught for one thing. Woe to me for being caught for 5 things. Rabbi Hanina said to him, happy are you for being caught for 5 things, and you are saved. Woe unto me for being caught for one thing, and I am not saved. You engaged in Torah and in charity or doing mercy, etc. As Rav Huna said, all who engage only in Torah is as one who has no God, as it was said, and many days for Israel without a true God. What is without a true God? All who engage only in Torah as one who has no God. It is difficult to understand this excerpt. We should interpret that the main thing that a person should do in the world is to make all his works be for the Creator. And since man was created with a quality of delighting only himself, to the point that it is impossible for him to do anything unless he sees that some good will come out of it for himself.
Meaning we're built in such a way that we don't even understand what that is. We for years need to engage in all kinds of things around, to learn, to sit together, to be in meals, in all kinds of workshops, all kinds of groups, to do dissemination, all the things that we engage in that the Kabbalists recommend for us to do, until we start a little more to understand what they meant with their words. Because everything depends on our perception, how much it needs to more and more change, and for us to be able to grasp, perceive the inner content of the words. Yes.
Then how can one work for the Creator? But the Creator has given us commandments between man and man, by which man accustoms himself to work in favor of his neighbor. By that he comes to a higher degree, to having the ability to work for the Creator as well.
Because by engaging in this between us, as Kabbalists tell us, not according to what we feel like to say or think, but according to exactly those advices, counsels of the Kabbalists. If we gather in that way, if we study in that way, if we relate and build the organization in such a way, then we invite the reforming light upon us, and it influences us and corrects us. Meaning it makes such connections between us that it's not necessarily in each and every one, but between us, and the connections between us, we begin to feel a special field where later we will discover that that's our soul, and what fills the soul is the Creator.
Otherwise, even though a person engages in Torah and mitzvot, he cannot engage for the Creator. It therefore follows that if he engages only in Torah and not in doing good, he cannot work in order to bestow, because he lacks the quality of love of others. It therefore follows that although he engages in Torah and mitzvot, if it is not for the Creator, it is as one who has no God. For if he truly had the sensation of godliness, he would certainly be engaging in order to bestow. But if he had engaged in doing good, then he would have the quality of love of others, by which he would also come to love the Creator, and would have the ability to observe Torah and mitzvot for the Creator.
Meaning, if a person doesn't mean, through the study of the Torah, through all that he engages in, to come to love of others, which is called doing, giving out charity, then it becomes the potion of death, because he gets further away from people, is prideful towards them, and towards others he's disparaging towards others, prideful, he deserves more, and so on.
It turns out that a person should have the power and force to overcome his qualities, to turn them into being in favor of others, for by that he will later be rewarded with working with those qualities for the Creator. Because once a person has already been corrected in his qualities, so he can work in favor of others. He can work on the matter of faith in the Creator. For then he is fit to be rewarded with faith, for then he already has equivalence of form, called cleave unto his attributes, as in, as he is merciful, be you merciful.
Meaning, if he draws the reforming light, then by it he corrects himself and emerges above his ego and begins to relate to the world differently, to people, to everyone. And then when he comes out of his ego and rises above his ego, then he starts to see the second degree of existence in reality, which is the upper world. Very simply, it's so close seemingly. We are all inside our egos, inside it, and if we rise above, and this is through these exercises where we want to go out, we want to connect with the friends, each go out of himself towards the connection in the group, then by that we start to invite the reforming light. It helps us see the situation in such a way to feel the quality of bestowal like this, and we start to feel the upper world as it is written, you shall see your world in your lifetime. Questions? Women, no. That's nice. Okay. Yes. I don't know. Just pass on the microphone, please.
Good evening to everyone, dear friends. In the beginning, in the start of the article, I heard that we use our egoistic desire.
Yes. We are such. We are born egoists, all of us, as it is written also. And when we come to the wisdom of Kabbalah, we develop our egoistic desire even more. As it is written in the beginning, our forefathers were idol worshippers. Yes?
Where is there is none else beside him, the good does good.
Why does it need to be here?
He's leading us, isn't he?
He leads you, first of all, to the recognition of evil, for you to see how opposite you are from him, because it's the advantage of light from darkness. And then, when you go through all kinds of opposite states to the good, and feel how bad you are, and certainly this is something that the same good that does good did this to you. He did this and created in you and sorted in you all these qualities so that you feel what bad is. But again, only from going through this bad and coming to the good, you're in a connection and an equivalence between the two. You can feel what this is compared to that. Then you'll have the depth of the Kli.
But I don't have any control over it, right?
You have control only through the connection in the group. The group has complete control over the upper light, the creator. You don't.
Everything that I do in the group, it comes from something, or from the ego, or from a process of the correction.
Through the group, you can invite the reforming light for it to correct you, in short.
How do I measure this?
You can't measure this. In the beginning, you don't have a measuring instrument or vessel. You can just do what the Kabbalists tell you exactly.
How do I know?
You don't know. I'm telling you, you don't know.
How do I know that I'm doing it?
Oh, simply in a simple, direct way, what's written in the book and what you see in the friends. Try for you also to execute it.
Yes, but for example, each one will help their friend. It's a bit general.
Sir, you can argue with me until the end of life. It won't help. You need to take seriously what's written and to carry out, and from everything, whatever is possible. In every point. That's it. I'm not going to give you some kind of nepotism here. There are rules here. There are laws here. There's the laws of nature. Just like you learn in physics, chemistry, math, etc. Rules. If you observe them, you open the heavens. You don't observe them, you don't. They're the same rules like in our world. Only a spiritual law, meaning it's higher up and more precise. Please.
Hello to everyone. We have a question slash blessing, a request for a blessing in Jerusalem.
I thought she was coming to bless us. Now she is asking for a blessing. Okay.
The Jerusalem group handed out for a number of weeks thousands of flyers, and it had 7 people who signed up for the campus. And Chaim Turkia asked some of the groups for some help, for help to hand out the flyers from Petach Tikva and from other groups. And after many talks with friends, there's a feeling that some of the friends that it has to be an action that's all of Israel doing it together, maybe even all the Kli, with the world Kli, supporting with us prayer, so that anyone who can, anyone who's available, can come to Jerusalem in its available time. And even if it's 1 or 2 from each group, but there'll be an action together, because the dissemination there is very difficult. So we're asking for your blessing and a strengthening and an explanation why in Jerusalem the dissemination is so important.
I wouldn't say that it's important, the dissemination in Jerusalem, but it's hard for sure, because Jerusalem is the place of the Klipot. That's what Baal Shalom writes. Because the place where there was holiness and there's no correction yet, the end of correction, that's the place of the Klippah. That's what we learn in the wisdom of Kabbalah, and that's how it's written. That's one thing. Secondly, I personally am not certain that it's the right action and that we need to do it. Specifically, when 1 or 2 people show up and they go there and put out flyers. I don't know. There needs to be an organized action. I didn't hear, but by people who understand, checked this out, think that it's right, according to the response that I'm hearing, that maybe it's not worthwhile for us to invest so much into this. And in other places we can come to a blessing, really, and here it's to get altogether a resistive response. For what? I don't know. But I can't give a blessing for something that is doubtful in my eyes.
The action came from Petach Tikva.
I don't know, ma'am. I don't know about this. I'm not in those things. I don't know about that. Right now, we're engaging in the exodus from Egypt. Yes.
Hello to everyone. I'm from the point in the heart in Nahariya, and I'm asking, it's strengthening the excerpt that says how pleasant and good it is for a tribe of brothers to sit together. And that's why I would like to bless everyone for these happy days, and it's great to be here with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is, on the sons of Israel, they worked in idol worshipping.
Meaning they were inside their ego, like us.
And they would pray to the plants and to the stones, and in Agadah it raised all of these things.
They sanctified everything that we sanctify today. Soccer.
And afterwards we had the story of the Babel Tower, that it really confused all of the languages and no one knew anything. How was their connection? How, despite that, did they manage to come together and reach a point of bestowal according to Kabbalah? Thank you.
Well, I don't know what to say. We've talked about this many times. We learned this, I think, in the campuses and in many places. We all, first of all, start not later after Egypt, Babylon, but Babylon came before Egypt. So in Babylon, about 3,500 years ago, all of humanity, the seed of humanity was concentrated in a way there. And just like in the periods of times of humanity existing, the will to receive began to be revealed more and more, and it began to be like one nation in certain things that's certain about them. But all of a sudden, they start to feel certain disputes, clashes between them, and divisions, gangs, and camps. And Abraham, who was a Babylonian priest with his father Terach, Abraham studied the matter and discovered that it was their ego that has grown and that they can't get along with one another. He also discovered the method that you can draw against the ego. You can invite this special upper light that will connect above the ego. Each time the ego grows and you can connect above it. The ego grows and you can connect above it. Yeah, and this is how it is each time. So he called the Babylonians from his role. He could have done so. People connected to him. Rambam writes that tens of thousands connected to him. And he took them to here, to Israel. It was called the land of Canaan. And after a little more, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, it was disclosed that they have come to Egypt. But I'm telling you all of this in a geography and history, which is not the thing that we want to explain here. We want to explain it in a simple way. And when you grow in the ego and want to emerge from it, we have a method that Abraham discovered, and we work according to that method. How does the method work? Through the connection, as he discovered, love thy friend as thyself. Love will cover all transgressions. That's how we need to try to connect. The moment we connect above the current ego, we start to feel the spiritual world, the first degree of it. And then again, the ego grows. We again start to connect above it. We come to the second degree of the spiritual world, and that's how each time more and more. That's it. Please, ma'am.
I am Estelle. I'm from the Point in the Heart in Haifa. I wanted to ask, how do you measure that your pleasure, that when you get to a connection in a workshop, and when you get to a connection in a workshop in your 10, how do you measure that pleasure in terms of yourself, as much as you're trying to have intentions for the 10, or if that pleasure is for spirituality? How can you measure that?
Through the friends. If I'm doing it to the friends, it's already spirituality.
About it in the workshop.
Without thinking, I need in practice to do something to cause pleasure to the friends.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hello,
I'm Moti from Point in the Heart in Netanya. Dear Rav, you're talking about Israel, and the first time that it's written in Tanakh, when Jacob was struggling with the angel, and instead of calling him Jacob, he calls him Israel. And from Jacob came the people of Israel, the 12 tribes. They're actually from Jacob and not from Abraham, not from the people who came with Abraham.
No, I didn't say it that way.
So really, I would like to understand from when you were talking, when you said about Israel as Yashar Ke'el, direct to the Creator.
Yashar Ke'el, no. Yashar Ke'el is right. Abraham. The fact that in the Torah it appears from the moment that Jacob battles with Esav's minister, that's right. But to start with, it's a name that is directed, Yashar Ke'el, direct to the Creator. The fact that we go direct, straight, in order to get the Creator, to attain His quality, because it's all according to the equivalence of qualities. That's how we feel the world in reality, according to the equivalence of one's qualities with the external qualities. So it turns out that we, therefore, come to a state in which we are called Israel if we are aimed towards the revelation of the Creator, according to equivalence of form, according to bestowal, according to love of others. If not, not. Therefore, every person in the world who is in the inclination to reach love of the Creator, a love of others, is called Israel. Israel is not a nationality like we. We're not a nation. We are specifically a collection of many nations who joined and connected to Abraham from Babylon.
So there's no meaning behind the people of Israel came from Jacob directly?
No, it's not that they were born from him, that he's their corporeal body father. He's their spiritual father, because Jacob is the middle line, and the fact that from him, the middle line, which is directed exactly to the attainment of the Keter, attaining the upper force, therefore it's called Israel. It's explained in many places, not necessarily by us, but by Kabbalists for a long time already. More? No, then we'll continue. Yes, please.
Hello.
Good evening. Every time I ask, and I still have millions of questions left to ask. I'm Said from the Point in the Heart in Haifa. My question is, is the Creator to blame for our suffering? Is the Creator to blame for our suffering?
Of course he is. I agree with you.
He's the good that does the good, and He's to blame?
Yes.
I understand.
Yes. No, this is all right. Yes?
After death. What is there after death? It's a difficult question, but...
No, it's not hard. I'll tell you. Nothing. It's written, you'll see your world in your lifetime.
The heavens are gone, the hell is gone.
What Eden? What?
The 72 virgins they promised me.
Ah. Why do you deserve it?
Because they said so. I've been 5 and 4, they've been telling me this.
I understand, you're right. It's pretty attractive, probably. But sadly, I can't lie to you. We are in the degree of animal. And we are animals. By any meaning of the word. Also before death and also after our bodily death. Nothing remains from our body, anything. Nothing. Except for a point which once again clothes in a body, and specifically by the body can come to development, to spiritual development. And then as much as it attains by the body, the spiritual development, then that is called its world. Otherwise, no. It's not important that you're a Muslim and there are Jews and Christians here. No, for everyone it's the same calculation. We either are similar to the Creator, we're similar to the Creator in order to bestow, and then to that extent that we are similar to Him, adhere to Him, then we are like Him. and then we already feel the moment we attain that eternal life, then we're already in that. And if not, if we don't attain it, then no. Rather, what remains is that spiritual potential that one did not attain yet, let's say. I've had such friends who sadly did not attain spirituality, but made many stages in order to reach it, and invested a lot, but didn't get to it yet. So that potential remains. Everything a person does in order to attain the quality of bestowal, the force of bestowal towards the love of others, remains. That remains in the point in the heart and is inscribed. And if he discovers the spiritual world, meaning if he acquired the intention in order to bestow, reveals the spiritual world, then that already remains in him and with him, and he feels no difference between life and death. Just like my teacher, when I asked him in the beginning of the study, what happens with the person when he dies? And he said, well, when he dies, he dies. Like every animal, we belong to the degree of animate. But if he acquired spirituality, he lives in the spiritual world, he already is in that spiritual sensation like he had in this lifetime, and then when he passes away, he doesn't feel like he passes because he remains in his spiritual life. He lives in that. For him, it's a higher degree than the animal corporeal life. And then the corporeal life, he says, it's like just like you throw this shirt at the end of the day to the laundry. That's how you feel with the body. It passes. You get rid of it. You got rid of the body.
Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone.
Let's hope that we reach even better reward than the 70...
Even 72 castles. Thank you.
Virgins. Yes, please.
Hello to everyone. My name is Roman. I'm from the Point in the Heart in Tel Aviv. What I'd like to ask is, what causes a person to come to the understanding of their evil that's in one himself, either to himself or to others?
What helps us come to the recognition of evil? That's as we're in a group. And if I'm in a group in the right way, and I try to come to connection with them, and I try not to do a calculation for them. That's the Creator presenting to me all kinds of people in all kinds of forms that I like this and like that I can't stand and don't love. I'm disgusted. That's not important to me. I have to connect with them because this is what He's presenting to me as the field for correction. What can I do? I probably need inside specifically to be with this group, with these kind of people. You know, between us, look at what students I'm with here, who I'm amongst here.
I wanted to ask for the people that aren't here.
No, so don't look at anything. Don't look at anything. A person doesn't see what's before him. He sees actually a reflection of himself. If I come to a state, and if I will be with them in heart and soul, and it's a sign that I have come closer to the Creator, and then in such a degree I am between them, and I start to feel the spiritual world.
I'd like to ask the people who aren't in a group that were considered as righteous and wise people that were doing great things, what can cause them to recognize the evil?
I don't do it. I know I don't do calculations for anyone. It's not good. It's not good for us to think of all those who are or not. I disperse my Torah from the sources, of course. It's not mine. Not mine. But I spread it in all directions. Whoever comes, comes. Through everything that we do, the internet, the different factions, activities, campuses, etc. But to care for those who are not, or are in some kind of deviation from it, that's not my concern. I would recommend for you to relate to it that way as well. Yes, girls.
They're asking for a translation from Russian. I'm Yulia from the Chelyabinsk group.
What, they came to us now for Pesach? Well, Chelyabinsk is far. It's in Siberia.
I'm studying 3 years. And the whole time I'm looking for a certain book. And by chance I saw it at someone and they let me read it.
В общем, есть такое мнение, что вот такую книгу, может быть, не стоит читать другому.
And he said, read it 10 times, and in general it's good to ask if you can read from this book, because not everyone can read it.
Which book is this?
12.
Book number 12.
What is book number 12?
Это ваша книга, 12-й том.
Yes, your book.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Well, and how? So, what's going on?
Скажем, человек на этой книге вырос, определенный килим связан и так далее, то есть нет...
For some reason they say that book expands the vessels, and if someone who's expanded their vessel on that, they can't use it.
That I don't know. I never said such a thing or wrote such a thing ever. I'm a very realistic person. I have nothing to do with mysticism or anything like that. Also, the wisdom of Kabbalah completely has nothing to do with mysticism. Whoever doesn't understand, then he makes something like that out of it. Everyone is permitted to read, men, women, everyone, as many times as you want. You can pass on the book. There's nothing holy in the pages, in these pages. There's nothing holy about them. Yes.
Happy holiday. I wanted to ask you, Rav, if we are in times of Exodus from Egypt, and Moses was the one who drew us from the corporeality to spirituality, and are you the Moses who will do it for us?
What can I tell you? In truth, of course, that is a very special role. He is the greatest prophet we ever had in all the generations. There is no one higher and greater than Moses. It's written in the Torah itself as well. The fact that we are in Egypt and we're preparing ourselves for the Exodus, it's for sure. And even not just us, but the whole world is in these, let's call it, labor pains. And we need to make efforts to run away from there. From our ego, from the efforts between us to connect, we rise above the ego, and by that we will immediately feel the upper world. We will immediately hold on to it, and in short, it's before us. It's before us. We are in the process of Exodus. But this process also includes all kinds of unpleasant states. The darkness of Egypt, its blows, it's the parting of the Red Sea. These are many unpleasant states. And all are only in order to strengthen us, because in spirituality you need a great force in order to hold on to the upper light and in order to bestow.
Are you that great force?
Me, no.
We're like babies.
No. There is in no place is there an ability for a person, for any person, to be in such a role. The Messiah, son of David, or those are all forces from above. Only the upper light can appear and do that. The fact that it clothes sometimes through people, it's true, but for the time being, I haven't received any information or notice on that.
So I'm wishing you many years, and that you'll be a teacher for many years.
Very well. I agree to help you in anything I can. Thank you. I really, really recommend not to put your fate, your future on any person. There's the upper force, there's none else besides him, and it is what we need to draw, and by him we need to rise to degrees only through the upper force. Yes.
Rav, I'm from the Chadera group for 10 years. I couldn't come yesterday, so I came today. I have a request that for a lot of time I've been asking from the friends from Petach Tikva, from the friends in the group, from the Creator, and I've decided that it's time that I ask from you. Some time ago, when you were in the previous building on Tuesdays, it was open to the general audience and anyone who could come and ask questions to listen to your lesson, and it's very useful for dissemination. I think in these times when we want all of Israel to leave Egypt, it will have a great...
That was a Tuesday evening?
Not on Tuesday, because that's the day for Points in the Heart. Maybe on Wednesday it can be instead of the Zohar lesson, and all of the groups can also come together, all of the Points in the Heart, and the new people, the veterans, and they can ask questions from the internet. It was great then, and it was very effective. So it's a point to think about. A lot of friends and I've talked to said it's a great idea, and there's a great desire for it, and to have a direct contact with you.
Let's try.
Awesome.
I'm saying seriously. Let's try. Only really, I don't know. I'll tell you, it doesn't seem to me that there are so many people who are jumping on this. Meaning, how many people will come here? It's very hard. At 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, let's say. Until you get here and you go home, it's really, it destroys the whole week. I understand that people who work hard and with traffic jams and all that to come here.
Whoever is close will come here. Whoever is far away will go to the groups.
Okay, let's try. I nevertheless I'm willing and interested to teach and to learn. You see, we open the Zohar lesson. So instead of the Zohar lesson, once a week we'll have a lesson. That's it. But you need to think what to study, and what plan, what materials, who will prepare, and so on and so forth.
Thank you very much.
So the moment it is ready, I'm willing. I see that the women took over the microphones. So men can come any morning. Yes.
Happy holiday. And dear Rav and all of my spiritual family. We today are in a great happiness here today, together in a great connection. All of us leaving Egypt, and I see here my friends have progressed really greatly in the path, and they're great friends. And I am a zero, nothing. I'm starting to be jealous of them. It's an envy where I want them to have even greater success, but I also want to be like them. And sometimes when I say I'm jealous, it doesn't come out as it should be. I don't know why. How can you say it? Can you teach us how to say it correctly? And how do we accept it when someone tells us that we're...
What does your envy help you with?
That I'm adhering to them. I want to be with them.
Well, yes, and
I want to do what they're doing.
Yes. And are you trying?
I am trying.
So you're missing more envy. Yes, of course. Envy is the main force that takes a person out of the world, out of this world to the upper world. Yes. So, say thank you very much to the Creator for supplying you with this quality, and the more, the better.
How do I accept it when someone says I envy you? There's stereotypes in my head.
Be thankful. Thank, because by that you connect, you bind to them, you want to be more like them and connect with them even more. But it's missing. I'm telling you, seriously. There has to be a fire, burning envy. Has to be there. Okay.
There's one last question from the women. Wow.
Yes. Ladies first.
It's a question about the text. It's talking about the mercies. Can you explain it?
About being charitable in mercy?
It's sort of a term.
This means that I am giving chesed, grace, mercy to each and every one. Meaning I want for the benefit of others. That's the quality of bestowal in its broadest manner to everyone.
So maybe it comes from where they might have some kind of explanation in the Kabbalistic terms. So one more question, if I can. All of our work is to feel the friend. And what happens with the years, come to a point where I feel even people outside 99, and how do I, and it doesn't feel well. How do I close myself off?
What do you feel that's not good in them?
Here it's good to feel a friend, but outside it's you can feel a person and it kind of but I don't want to.
It's your ego that's like that.
I can feel a friend and I can cry because I feel her, because that's her situation.
The Creator is arranging the world such that you see it that way. First of all, to justify everyone and to justify Him. Secondly, as much as you can, love them as they are that.
It's difficult. I can't take
It's difficult for you, that's something else. It's right that it's difficult, but you have to love everyone and relate to everyone with understanding that that's the Creator who's arranging for you to see the world that way.
But it's kind of crossing...
Because it's your pride that's not letting you see them in a nice way, where you're doing criticism on them.
I don't know if it's a point of criticism.
Ma'am, it's written that way. It's not that I want to say something about you.
No, I have no problem to feel them, but it's doing something that's not nice for me. So how do I close myself off?
Oh, so other than that, you don't want to feel towards them that way because it doesn't do good to you.
There's a point where a person has to... means there's personal space where you're protecting yourself. I don't know exactly how to explain it. For me, it's not like that. It's kind of open. It's wide open.
It will pass. No, I'm saying seriously. It will pass. You will start to feel that all of this is done to you by the Creator, that He's presenting the world to you, that you're not seeing the world really, but He's arranging for you to see that way, your observations. You need to see what perception of reality is that way, where we don't see the reality on the outside, but rather we're seeing what's inside us. And then I need to know that these are the qualities that I need to correct more in order to come to a state in which what I see is appearing as the complete world. That's called the correction. Nothing is corrected on the outside. Only me, I correct myself from within. And then the world changes.
Thank you.
Well,
okay,
yes.
well.
So about big deficiency, at last I felt what it really is to be a man. What a big lack, and you filled us. Thank you. Point in the heart from Netanya. Thank you for this opportunity. There are a few questions that are following me lately in this time of the Exodus from Egypt.
Yes, go on.
We're celebrating the holiday of freedom.
Yes,
from
if there's...
Pharaoh. The story talks about a past. There was the Exodus.
No, nothing happened.
We're celebrating the Exodus.
We're going to celebrate the Exodus when we leave.
According to the story.
According to the story, one is talking about the future.
The people of Israel came out of Egypt. They came out of the Narrows. They came out of Pharaoh. It reached freedom. We're celebrating a holiday which its word means freedom. It's not just, hey, let's just be loose. It's freedom.
Yes.
So what do they do after that? The sin of the
yes.
calf. They sin. They got to freedom. They came to the place where they're free. And what do? They sin. So what's this freedom? What is it worth? If you're free and you sin such a big sin, you're in the standing of Mount Sinai, and you sin in the sin of the calf. These are free people.
Wait, you're coming here to judge them? The speech, I don't quite understand. Who is it from?
They don't look so good from this story.
Okay, so listen. First of all, a story is a story. Second, we are not relating to history at all. It's a problem in our perception of reality, like that lady who is just talking. It seems to us that it's all history, geography, distances, but it's all the imagined world. And the Torah tells us about the process that we go through. It's written in every generation. Everyone needs to see themselves as making an exodus from Egypt. So see it that way.
The question is, what is that freedom that I long for?
I don't know what you're longing for, but I don't know what the freedom is that you're talking about. That when you know about it, I don't know if you'll be longing for it.
Can you define what the holiday of freedom is?
The holiday of freedom is to not use everything that you have. Because everything that a person has is the egoistic desire, that great big desire, egoistic desire, that's the Pharaoh that's governing a person, is to rise above him, and that's what's called the beginning of the freedom.
The beginning of the freedom. It's written here in the book, this is called the Exodus of Egypt, because then all the deeds are for the sake of the Creator. So they came out of Egypt and...
Meaning they rose above their ego?
And sinned.
Yes, they sinned and they rose above the ego, and then they fell again. And again they rose, and then again they sinned. So again, and again, 40 years after being in the desert, you read what was going on there, what was written, how much they sinned.
So it's not such freedom, if so.
No, it's freedom because you can't get to any spiritual attainment unless you fail. But every time you rise higher and then you fail even deeper, and then you get even higher and then fall even deeper. And that's how you progress. It's greater the light than the darkness.
Oh, a small thing.
That's a man. Yes, okay, go on.
No, let it go. Thank you, Rav.
Yes. Yes, women. There was someone who wanted to ask. Yes, ma'am. Yes. No, they don't have that many opportunities.
Здравствуйте. Меня зовут Валентина. Я из Казахстана, город Щучинск. Мы приехали сюда с подругой.
Hello, I'm Valentina from Kazakhstan. I came with a friend.
Вопрос такой. Творец нам дает разные состояния, в частности, отчаяние. И вот, когда мы находимся...
The Creator gives us different states, also states of despair.
О чем мы должны его просить?
And when we're in that state of despair, for example, what do we need to ask the Creator for?
I don't know. It depends in what place of you're feeling that. It depends on where you have to feel exhausted from your own efforts. That's the good exhaustion where I've seen that I've done everything that I can do, and even more than what I thought I could do, and nothing's helping. And then from there, I cry out to the Creator that He will correct me. That's the true despair.
Thank you.
No,
No, like that I can't hear you. You have to... You wanted to shout.
I only have a deficiency to say thank you for being in such a holy audience with a teacher that is so holy. I simply wanted to say that my life, ever since I'm in Kabbalah, have become interesting. They were simply boring before that. The lessons that you give are so filled with wisdom, but also with love. They balance the feelings. They give all of a sudden an answer to why we're alive. It gives a person to be in his full potential, to be a person, a human being. And simply thank you very much for you existing here. Thank you to all the righteous who every night study and all the morning lessons, and let's hope that we merit to also be students one day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Truly, thank you. Thank you. Okay, good. I'm happy to hear that. Yes, you've wanted to ask for a while now.
Hello. I'm Michai from the Point in the Heart in Haifa. A question about the excerpt about idol worship, and from the understanding that one negates only from his own flaws. I'm asking some guidance. How do we need to operate when we feel that a friend, on one hand in the group, works in idol worship, and we can say that it even harms the group? But then the question is, wait a minute, who's this idol worship? Is it his or mine? And if it's all inside of me, what am I supposed to, and what sensitivity should I share or say? And how do I know that I need to act in that moment?
I don't understand. Keep the microphone. What's the idol worshipping?
Relative to the excerpt, one who works his ego or justifies other forces that are not, there's none else besides him, that are not the creator.
That's all of us for now. What else can we do? Nothing else. Help and support one another and be a bit more friendly, more supportive, a bit more supportive, and until each of us get out of it, and until we connect together. And there's some who are not able to hold it, and they just outburst with it. They're shouting that it's all lies and it's nothing, and there's some who months, even years, are in some kind of it's a stupor, that kind of close where we're not able to do anything with themselves, don't hear anything, and it all takes time. Spirituality takes time. Rabash told me, Bala Sulam, when he opened the book, he got to Rabbi from Piltsov, and there's a little town next to Warsaw where his Rav lived. And he went to him to ask him a few questions, and he was still about 18, 19, young man who just got married. And that rabbi wasn't there, and so he sat him at his home, and he opened a book from the shelves to read it, and all of a sudden he sees it's a lot of written about the questions that he was always been asking throughout life, and throughout his life, and he never got the answers. And so the rabbi came in and he said, put it back in place, you can't be reading that. But he already knew where to look for it. He got the book, and Rabash said the book he attained, but he didn't know that it would take 20 years to understand what was written, to attain what was written. And that's Bala Sulam. So you understand patience, to always continue in the direction and not to reduce the acceleration. Not to reduce acceleration. What? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Rav. Good evening to everyone.
Get closer to the microphone.
Good evening to everyone. Happy holiday. I hope that I'll be able to explain myself what I mean or to express my question. But you always talk about the fact that there's the spiritual reshimo, which is what awakens for us the point in the heart. With that, you talk about the fact that the soul actually goes through bodies throughout the spiritual life it has.
The soul changes in body, like clothing. You mean the masach? What do you mean by that? The soul.
The incarnation. You're saying that the soul.
You're talking about the flesh, and that's what you're talking about?
Yes. Right, it goes up and it comes back and it incarnates, from what I understood.
Let's say.
Well, let's say, so maybe. But the moment the soul leaves the body and it comes down again, meaning if it incarnates, it's been through several environments that it grew and developed.
It's the skin where the light where it leaves the body, and then it's the masach, and then that light goes up, and the vessel changes the reshimo, and then it does the intention to bestow again, and then a new body, and it's called a desire to receive in order to bestow, and then the light closes in the new body, and then the body comes back to the body, and this body, this animal, this flesh, it has nothing, it's not connected to it.
Okay, but the actual development of the soul is by it creating a closeness into the society, to its environment, to its ten, and by that...
But I'm not getting close to the friends by sitting close to one another. It's by...
No, clearly not. It's the inner work.
Yeah.
What happens if in one of the processes of the soul, it took upon itself decisions that it doesn't want to get closer? And then actually, even if it decided with itself that it doesn't want to get close into some society or
they gave a reshimo those that they're not able to fulfill.
Yes.
So it doesn't fulfill it.
And it constantly works on the ego, and it doesn't matter. That's what was dictated for her. That this soul won't be able to implement it.
No, because it's not alone. It depends on the environment. And, of course, it'll change. A person doesn't decide so much about what's going on. It depends on the environment, what's around, because the calculation isn't with him. It's with the whole world. It's what's around him, with the whole Klid of the Adam Rishon. And there's no individual calculation.
Thank you.
Shalom.
Hello, I'm Or from Zichron Yaakov, the point in the heart. So my question, if there weren't an exit from Egypt in Pesach, then why are we celebrating Pesach specifically this week and maybe not next week or a month from now?
It's related to that we have roots and branches where each spiritual root has to touch the corporeal branch, and that's why we have the calendar year, and in that year in the calendar we have these points where we need to observe these actions, even though in spirituality we can do the Exodus from Egypt, and in November it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter at all.
And also meaning we need to constantly overcome the ego and...
So on Friday and Saturday we can celebrate them on Tuesday.
But is it important to celebrate it and keep it?
There is roots and branches, and it's righteous for him Saturdays all the time.
And as far as the matzahs, why don't we eat them all year long if it will help us to overcome the ego?
It'll help us. It'll help you with nothing. Even if you eat matzah all the time, it won't help. I'm sorry. You can get off of that diet. You don't have to suffer.
למה דווקא השבוע חשוב לנו לשמור על הכשרות ונגיד לא לשים שוב חפץ?
According to the roots and
Why do we
branches,
keep it specifically that way?
why we have these commandments where we are keeping a kosher, and it's what we're doing. It's all the things that we have to keep. The mitzvot. It's above the reason. It's about spirituality.
Thank you. We have a last question here. Good evening. Happy holiday to everyone. I have a short question. We talked before about needing to be in despair in order to ask for the help of the Creator.
But we aren't yearning for this despair. It comes from where we want to work in our own strength, these spiritual actions, and we see that we can't.
Yes, but it's like we are asking with the help of the 10, with the help of the society. So it's kind of like contradicted. How can I...
I'm not asking. Why is it contradictory?
If I want the help of the Creator, of our Maker, to help me, then I need to be in
No,
despair.
you're not hearing what I'm saying. It's interesting. We want to do actions, everything in our strength to do, we have to do. That we're trying to do everything, and we see that we can't, and when the people of Israel exhausted from the exhaustion of their work, then we shout out. And then we get to the despair, and then we reveal, the Creator reveals Himself and draws us to Him.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
We now are going to say goodbye and happy holiday to our viewers.